welcome to Revelations with Delusional Knitter. I am Angela, your host. This is episode 118, and it is Tuesday, June 2nd, 2015. Although here in New England, you wouldn't know it was June because it's 40-something degrees out, and my heat kicked on this morning. It's been crazy here. We had several days where it was like high 80s. Talk about that in a little bit. And yeah, it all of a sudden dropped down to like the high 40s. Yeah, does not feel like summer at all anymore. Updates and housekeeping. Welcome if you are new, if you are returning. Thank you as always. Hope either way you enjoy. Continue to watch the show. Come on over to the Ravelry board if you're a member of Ravelry, who isn't nowadays. And there's a Ravelry group, Revelations with Delusional Knitter, where I post the episodes, and I would love to hear from you. Show is also on iTunes and YouTube, where you can leave ratings or reviews, and I appreciate those very much. So on to declarations. What's been going on? I do not have a traveling monster at the moment. I am awaiting one that should arrive tomorrow or the next day. And I have shipped off Aubrey, who I enjoyed very much. So she's on to her next destination. I've been very, very busy since I recorded last. So the last time we spoke, I was still working at my previous job, and I gave my notice and I was ready to move on to the next place. So prior to being able to work at the new place, I had to go get EMD training, which is emergency medical dispatch, because we didn't do that where I was before. So I did go do that. Unfortunately, I had to go to Springfield, which is about an hour and a half, 2 hours away. Oh yeah. And training started at 8:30 in the morning, and I am not a morning person at all. Do the math. You can figure out when I had to get up. It wasn't too bad. I don't mind driving. I have a good sense of direction. I don't often get lost. I can use a map. I hate GPS because it just irritates the crap out of me when the voice keeps talking to you while you're trying to drive. I much prefer to look at a map and figure it out myself, which is what I did several times. So there were two ways I could go, and the two ways... So here's Massachusetts. I'm like here, and Springfield is down here somewhere. And the two ways I could go was this way and this way, or this way and this way. There was no this way. There's no such thing. I mean, I'm sure you could have gone that way, but it probably would have taken you 5 hours, right? So those were my two choices. So the first day when I went, I decided to go the northern route, because it was a 2-lane highway, which is usually not congested, and then a route. We call them routes here. It's like a state highway. So there's, the speed limit typically is like 45, and there's, businesses, there might be stoplights, there may be forks, turns. Typically in Massachusetts, everything's laid out pretty well and marked when it's a route, a state highway like that. So the first day when I went, everything was going great. Except I got to this town and I came to an intersection and there was no sign. So I was like, no idea. So I went straight, which apparently was not the correct way to go. I still ended up getting to training on time that day because I did have my phone, so I did have Google Maps, so I figured it out and I got there. And after that debacle, that evening, when I went home, I went the main routes, like the Mass Pike and the main highways, which I hated a lot. I cannot stand traffic, and these particular 3 days, it was the high 80s. I drive a black pickup truck that pours heat off the engine, never mind the fact that it's black and it's hot and the sun's out. So, needless to say, it was very uncomfortable, and there was traffic on the way home. So, the second day, I got up a little later than I should have, and I ended up going back that way, the main highways, to get there. Now, in the morning, I found that it wasn't actually bad, so I was like, oh, good, I'll do this tomorrow. On the way home, I did not want to do that again, like the afternoon before, so I studied the map on breaks, and I figured out a way that I could get back to that main highway. It was okay, except that when I needed gas, because I'd already used up a tank of gas, in that, yeah, So I stopped and I got gas, and this other route through the towns, there's like 3 or 4 towns, to get back to the main state highway was a lot of strip malls and a lot of stoplights. So it actually probably took me like 45 minutes to get back to the main highway route. And then from there is another hour and a half. Yeah. So the third day was it? Yeah, it must have been the third. So the third day, I was going along to go back the main routes to get there. Unfortunately, it was really early in the morning, and I wasn't very awake, so I got on the wrong side of the highway. Autopilot kicked in. I knew I wanted to go west, so I got on west, which was not the correct highway, actually. To go the main highways to get there, I actually have to get on east, and the very next exit is a different highway that goes like south or something. Yeah, so I got on west, and I'm driving, and I must have gone 3 exits or so, and all of a sudden I snapped awake, and I was like, where was the turnoff for the highway? So I got off, I got back on, and went back another 15 minutes. Oh. And then that time, I actually spoke to the instructor who kind of lives out this way. She was actually a retired dispatcher from my town for 15 years. And now she teaches the classes. So I asked her, because the problem with, this is such a convoluted story, you probably think I'm insane by now. I could take the main highways to get there. On the way back, the on-ramp was closed. And it said to follow the detour signs, of which there were none. That's a different story that I won't even get into that happened on the first day. So I asked her, I'm like, hey, how did you get home the other 2 days? Because you can't get back on 291. And she's like, oh, just go under the overpass and take like the illegal left turn onto the other on-ramp. And I was like, oh, so the third day, the trip home was actually pleasant because I get to bypass all those lights and stuff in those other towns. I could take the Pike up like one exit, I think it was, and then it was a main route, and then that brought me back to the main route that I wanted to go north, and then I could go east. I got almost home. I was probably 3 towns away, and the sky opened, and there was a typhoon. It was such a bad storm. I have never been stuck in a storm like that in my entire life driving. So it was so bad. My wipers were on. The wipers in my truck, although the knob has like 5 settings, it really has 2. It has slow and fast. And fast was not fast enough for the way the rain was coming down. So I was like, I don't care if I have to pull over and wait a little bit. This is ridiculous. I think I'm going to die. You know, I need to get off the highway. So I got off the highway. I'm not real familiar with this town, but it's only a couple of towns over. I have been there before. So I do kind of know a little bit of it, but not much. I got off the highway. I was just, there's a rotary. I went around the rotary. I was just trying to find somewhere to pull off, like a Dunkin' Donuts or, you know, McDonald's or something that I could sit in the parking lot. And I saw a sign for 2A, which is another state highway that runs right there. So I was like, oh, I'll just follow 2A, you know, because it was, yeah, it's like 3 towns. So I got on 2A. It's still raining like crazy, but at least now I can do like, you know, 30 or 20 miles an hour and not think I'm going to die. Except that I did think I was going to die because the roads were flooding, like really flooding, like water that you thought might actually come up through your doors while you're driving through it. Luckily, like I say, I drive a truck, but still it's not a very big truck. So, but I made it. Even some of the highways, that state highway, they were doing a little construction and repaving. There were chunks of pavement floating in this water that was running across the road. It was that bad. So, but I made it home, and you know what the most ridiculous part of this entire story is? That ride home was the shortest time of all the rides ever. Is that not insane? I pulled over. It also, on that ride home, I stopped to get an iced tea because it was so flippin' hot. I stopped at, I had seen it driving there was a nice lookout with like mountains and stuff in one of the little towns out there. So I stopped because it was actually not raining at that point. And I took pictures and I hung out for like 10 or 15 minutes. All of this, and I still got home quicker than any other of those days. Bizarre. Really bizarre. So yeah, that was those 3 days. Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. I was getting up at like 5 or 6 in the morning. I was getting home at like 6 or 7 at night. It was nuts. But that is done. And that training is done, so that's good. And I started working, training at work. Excuse me. It's only been 2 days. It hasn't, on the calendar, it hasn't been 2 days. I've only trained 2 days because the way the schedule was. From here on out, I'll be on the 4 on, 2 off. During that training and everything, the schedule was a little messed up, so I had like those 3 days in Springfield. Then I was at the police department for 1 day. Then I had 2 days off. Then I worked yesterday, and now I have 2 days off. So it's a little screwy, but I have been there for 2 days. Everything's going very well because essentially I'm already trained. I just need to get, familiar with how they do things differently than where I did it previously, or, things like that. But otherwise it's going very, very well, and it is so quiet there. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Well, I can, because we knew that. Because the towns touch each other. We knew they weren't as busy as us. But my previous job would be so crazy some days that you would literally feel like you had just been at a heavy metal concert for 8 hours. I like heavy metal. But, you're just bombarded with stimuli. Loud. That when you get out of there, it's just like, oh my god. Here, I actually, literally almost fell asleep a couple times. I'm in training right now, so supervisor recommended I don't goof off or be on the phone or do anything like that. So right now I'm literally just sitting there staring at the wall sometimes. But once I'm out of training, then I can bring my tablet, read a book. It'll be nice, So that's going pretty well. What else? We've had some deer sightings in our yard recently, which is really cool. I did grab my phone the other day, and I caught one on camera on the phone. I'll insert that here. It's a short little clip. Because I had the phone, and I had to zoom in a little bit. It is a little shaky, but it's not bad. So here's the deer that we saw in our yard. I love seeing them. It's so cool. Usually we see more together, or some fawns or stuff, but we've just been seeing this one female recently. What else I've been doing on my days off, if you haven't noticed, you may have noticed, there's no more yarn in the bookcase over here. I decided, well, a couple of things. First of all, I have books. Now they're in the bottom shelf of that bookcase, but I would have books everywhere in this house. They were in the coffee table, they were in my nightstand, they were on the floor in here, and it's silly, really silly. So for that reason, you can't dust yarn. And it's been sitting there for years, and I have allergies, so it's probably not the best thing. So also for that. The other thing is, we had a couple years ago, our furnace burnt out, and there was black soot everywhere. I'm sure the yarn that was sitting there, this room didn't get it as bad as the open areas in the house, like the kitchen and the dining room, because this door is always shut, but it still did get in here. So I also wanted to kind of segregate that yarn, because what I figured I would do is I'll probably wash it before I wind it up to use it in the future, because it probably does have soot and dust and all kinds of stuff on it. And now I have my books in the bookcase, so I can find them, so that's awesome. And yeah, so I've got that cleaned up. Also, I feel a little less congested in this room without all that yarn over there, and it got a bunch of stuff off the floor that I had in piles over there. Let's see, Hogwarts at Ravelry. So I'm a storyteller for the next rotation, and I finished up my storyline yesterday, so I'm excited about that. That's going to start June 15th, and we're on the second book, and I have the Flying Cart and the Lumping Willow, which is a pretty cool storyline to have, so I'm very excited about that. And now we can move on to Revelations. I'm freezing, by the way. It's so cold. I have a big announcement. the Knitters Guild Association Master Hand Knitting Program. I passed level 1. Yay! I got my notice that I passed level 1. So I ordered level 2, of course, right? A couple days after that. And so now I will be working on level 2. I haven't started it at all yet, but I'm very excited about that I passed level 1. And the only other thing I've really been working on for knitting, which I'm desperately trying to finish today to get into Hogwarts at Ravelry for some points, is the Exploration Station shawl by Stephen West. If you've watched the podcast for a while, you remember that was a knit-along last fall, and I was only like halfway through. I was a little behind on it, but like a day or two after the knit-along wrapped up, he posted the pattern, and I saw what it looked like. It was a mystery knit-along. So I got a little aggravated, and I put it away. So I took it back out now. So, where I was... Let me not drop my needles out of it. Oh, I got yarn all stuck to it. I was on Clue 2. So I had finished the short rows and the brioche here. And the slip stitches here. All that was done. So when I picked it up again recently, I finished this one, which is just knitting. And the end, so I was here. This yellow line was done when I put it away. I picked it up, and I thought this was going to go the way the rest of my knitting has been going recently, because this yellow line has yarn overs in it. Double yarn overs. And when I started the new color, I got to one of them, and I had messed something up on it. And I tried to drop it down and fix it, but because there was just a strand and not working yarn, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't get it to do, because you have to knit and purl into it, and I just couldn't do it with just the strand. So I ripped it back and fixed it, and then went on. The rest of it went swimmingly, so I think I'm finally out of that funk, whatever that was, where everything I touched went bad, wrong. And now I'm actually binding off. So it's done, and I'm on the bind off row here, so I've bound off this much today. The pattern, it's an I-cord bind off. The pattern has to do it in that color that you're on, so it would have been the yellow, but I saw a lot of people's finished projects, they picked one of the contrasting colors to bind off, and I thought it looked really cool. So I believe, oh, that's not good. This was attached. Something just happened here, and I don't know what it was. Somehow this yarn just broke. Yeah, I'm really not sure what to say right now. Okay, my yarn just broke here, so I don't even know how that happened. Alright, moving on. I'll be reattaching the yarn and finishing the bind off. I don't know how that just happened. But anyway, I'm binding off. I have this much left, which I'm pretty sure is enough to get all the way across. We'll find out. And yeah, this should be done soon. Then I have to weave in all the ends from the color work, but yeah. I can believe that just happened. I totally can believe that just happened, because this is how everything's been going for me recently. I don't know if that was a weak spot or if it just got caught on something and ripped, but my yarn just... Alright. Yeah. That's all I've been knitting on. Let's see, string theory. I did finish up a little mini skein from a sample on my Markwood spindles. 2 new ones I got, Shalab and Nimrodel that I showed before, and this was just a sample that came with it. It came up really good. It's lace weight. I should know the yardage, but I forget now. I think it was like 29 yards or 30 something yards, but I was thinking maybe I could do like a border on a small shawl or something with this, but that's how that came out. And it is pretty much lace weight. And that's pretty much all I've been spinning on recently. I do have some testaments, because we all know I need to buy more stuff. Oh, when I cleaned out the bookcase here, and I took all the yarn out of the closet and stored it too. There wasn't a ton, but there was a bit. I went to Walmart and I bought 2 plastic tubs, and they were big, like 27-gallon tubs. So they're like 2 feet high and 3 feet wide, big tubs. I filled the 2 in no time and had to go back to Walmart and get 2 more. Yeah. And there are, I don't even know how many tubs downstairs that already have yarn in them. Yeah. So anyway, I did get another spindle, a Turkish spindle recently because I just couldn't pass it up. These are from Snyder's Spindles on Etsy. And it's a Turkish spindle. It's a bigger one than I usually get, but it's got hand-carved cats in it. They're so cute. And his spindles are really nice. Really nice spindles. So that's my spindle. I pretty much just buy a spindle a week, if you haven't noticed yet. So that's my new spindle. I put it down without breaking it, because apparently I'm par for the course today. What else did I get? Oh, Craftsy had a sale on yarn. A really good sale. And I got 2 sweaters quantities of yarn, because I need that too, right? I think I have like 8 or 10 downstairs. Sweater quantities, not, yeah. But it was a really good sale. I also got 2 skeins of Cascade 220 for level 2 of the Master Hand Knitter program. For level 1, I used Lion Brand Fisherman's Wool, which worked fine and was a nice yarn. But the second skein I had a lot of knots in it, so I wanted to try something else for that. So I got Cascade Yarn's Pinwheel in this really cool purple color. So I got enough skeins of that. So that'll be like a marled striping kind of effect for a sweater. I don't know if it was this one or the other one, but I wanted to do a Wonderful Wallaby. So it's almost like a hoodie. Well, it is a hoodie. It's got a hood, it's got a front pocket, but it's a sweater. And I also got this one, which is Lion Brand Tweed Stripes, which is very similar to that other one. I think in either one I got enough to do a wallaby. I wasn't sure which one I wanted to do it in. So that's what I got from there. And then I also got my Into the World shipment yesterday, and this color's awesome. Are you sensing a theme here yet? This one's great. This is totally my colors. And this is Targi. So I don't think I've spun before. So that's that for this. Yeah. I don't really even know what to say. I'm still a little upset that my yarn broke over here. Let's see. Intentions. Delusional Knitted Designs. So I will be working on next, well, 2 things. I have to knit up my Michaela shawl from January. That the pattern is all done. I just don't have an FO to take photographs of to post the pattern. So I wound up some of this. This is just Knit Pick Stroll. And then I wound up my Leading Men Fiber Arts for the hat that I was going to design. So, and now we're on to Heresy. So Hogwarts at Ravelry, I already said the new rotation starts the 15th. Also, podcast Actually Knitting, it's an audio podcast, is having a podcaster knit along. So podcasters that also design gave coupon codes for discounts on their patterns for this knit along, and I have one that's PalCal 2015, and if you're participating in that, you can use it anyway if you want to, but 25% off any of my patterns until June, it might be June 15th. I don't actually remember what date I put on it. And I have some Ravelry patterns for you. So the first one I have is Dolly the Sheep by Lilla. It's some Norwegian name. Jorn. It's crochet. I must say, I think this is the cutest sheep I have seen yet. That is awesome. That one's $4. And what kind of yarn does it use? DK. The other one is Shell Seeker by Heidi Kiermaier. I want to say that, oh, maybe not. Hang on, I'll tell you in a second if I'm right or not. It's $6.80 US, And it's pretty much a hoodie without the hood, but it's got that front pocket and it's striped. And that uses worsted weight. Let me see something here. No, it's not the designer I thought it was. I have seen her stuff before, and I have a lot of it bookmarked, but I thought she made a particular pattern that she does not, so I will not mention it. The other thing is Nightingale by Vintage Pearls. It's $4.37 US. I don't think I would ever knit this, but they are gorgeous socks. Absolutely gorgeous. I just say that because of how involved they are. I don't know that I've ever wanted to knit them, but they're beautiful. Alright, and now we are on to Delusional Jabber. So I have not been doing much other than the knitting that you've seen, because I've been very, very busy. I did, however, finish a whole audiobook during most of my drive to training, and then I just finished it here at home. I had a little bit left. And that was Zombie Fallout by Mark Tufo, and it was awesome. Totally my type of book. It was a zombie book, but it was very much had a sense of humor, and I liked it a lot. It was very much my sense of humor. The other thing I finished recently was Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I wanted to reread book 1 because Hogwarts at Ravelry, the next rotation is going into book 2. So I just wanted to reread them and do the read along with the group. So I finished that last night, actually. For TV, I started watching Wayward Pines. I don't know if I was watching that when I recorded last, but I am enjoying that one a great deal. I like that one a lot. And the other one I started watching recently, because I've heard other people say they liked it, but I didn't quite understand what it was. I thought it was a documentary reality show, which it is, but it is scripted. So it's made to look like a documentary when it's really not. Like Spinal Tap or Best in Show, those kind of things. And that is Trailer Park Boys. And I actually am enjoying it quite a lot. And there's like 9 seasons on Netflix. It's a Netflix original. I am behind on everything else. Outlander, I'm not too far behind on, so I'll be catching up on that shortly. And I think that's about it for this episode. So I am going to go cry a little bit while I splice my yarn back together here. I really don't know what happened. It must have just been a weak spot, because I was chugging along here with my bind off, and something bad wrong clearly happened. Or it might have got caught on something on the desk and ripped, but yeah, that shawl should be done soon. Everything else is going fairly well. My room is nice and open and clean now. Did some spring cleaning, dusting and stuff while I was doing that as well, and I'm very, very happy with that. Now I have room on the bookshelf to put books and all my other things that are just strewn all over the room. So, I thank you for joining me, and happy knitting and spinning.